This is Irontrader, and this is Midday Trading. So today it's really all about Venezuela and the oil trade. Okay, so we're going to look here at some oil majors, which is Chevron, Exxon, and ConocoPhillips. And then we're going to take a look here at the refiners, Valero, VLO. And then we're going to look at the oil services companies, Schlumberger and Halliburton. And then I'm going to show you the ETF that I trade, which is the XLE, which is the basket of pretty much everything. Okay, this video is for information purposes only, not a recommendation to buy selling stock market ETF. Please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. All right, first on the document here we have is Chevron. Okay, now Chevron is doing ready doing business in partnership in Venezuela. Okay, but let's just put this in perspective here before we get started. Okay, the U.S. right now is pumping about 13.8 million barrels a day. Okay, Saudi Arabia is pumping about 10.6 million barrels. Russia is pumping about 9.5, and Venezuela is pumping 900,000. Okay, so even if they have the largest reserves, there's no question about it. There's a little bit of question if they do or not, but realistically, they have a huge reserve. But how long is it going to take? It's going to take years in order to develop that kind of a situation. So right now, they're not really what you call a player. They're probably a bigger player in dope than they are in the oil business. Okay, so let's take a look at some of these charts. Now you can see where Chevron, we had this big pop up here. Okay, so what do we close right here? What do we close at? Okay, so you had this high of 155.90, and you can see where it popped all the way up here to this 165.75 level. Okay, so what we did is you just take the left of the chart here. So this is what we're looking for. Okay, you have 164.68. Yeah, right here, if you look at the top of that candle, it went up just a little bit above that. Then we look at all the way over here to the left of this chart here, you got 167.11. That's going to be your next target. Okay, so what you really want to do is watch these targets on these highs, okay, on the left of the chart. Now, if it keeps rallying up here, 168.96, that's going to be key, and that's going to be your big breakout here on your daily chart. Okay, now, if this can hold it, but usually these pop and drops, they don't really what you call last. Okay, and another thing is, what I don't like about it is you just gapped right up, and now we have a bottoming tail, but we got to see if this can actually hold. So if it doesn't hold, you want to watch the bottom of today's candle. That's 159.31. There's your gap, and then the top of that candle is 155.90. There's your fill. Then we come right back into the fold again. Now, when we look at a weekly chart here, okay, so we come right up here. Okay, that's going to be your nice big target, 168.96. Okay, and then we just venture right over here. Okay, you got 171.70 level. All right, and then we can come all the way over here to the left of the chart, 174.76. We come up to the top of that chart right there, 182.40 level, and then 189.68 level. Okay, so all you do is look right to the left of the chart, because where it's been is usually where it's going. I just don't like these gap ups like this. And let's just see if this is just a one-day deal, or, is it going to be a little bit more to that going here over time kind of a situation. Okay, so right now here, just watch today's candle. Watch that high, 165.75, and watch that low, 159.31. We start losing it, then we'll come right over here to this gap fill at 155.90 level. Okay, so just pay attention to that. Now, if it keeps running up here, all we do is just follow these levels until we get all the way back up here to that 189.68. We crack that, obviously we're going to that 200 mark. Okay, let's take a look here now at Exxon. Okay, now here we have Exxon. We pretty much have the same kind of a situation. Okay, we popped right on up here today. We made this high of 125.91 level. Okay, that's the high. So what you're really looking for is right here is this 126.34. That's going to be very, very key resistance. So if we get above that, we pretty much have blue sky towards that 150 mark. Okay, so even when you look at this weekly chart here, okay, you can see here how we have this really good, nice rising situation here on the weekend. We have a low, higher low, and it's rising up very nice. And they're holding that 8-day and they're holding that 21-day. Okay, so really the next target is that 126.34. There's really no resistance above that. Okay, so you just set your mark, and then again, you're going to be heading right towards that 150 mark if it keeps right on rolling. But again, is this just a one-day deal kind of a situation, or is it going to come right on down? So what you always want to watch here is watch the top of that candle, 122.68. If it does fall right on down again, and then we come down here at 120. 180 level, and then we come right back down to your 8-day, which is 127 on 97. We have 118 level, we have 117, and then we come down 114. You can zoom right on down. But right now we have a nice, good uptrending chart. So this is a really, if it keeps right on rolling, we're looking for this mark right here, that 126.34. We crack that, then you're going to start heading right for that 150 level. Okay, let's take a look here now at ConocoPhillips. All right, here we have ConocoPhillips. Now I'm just showing you what the big boys, the players in this situation that's going on here. Okay, so right now here you can see where this is kind of like a pop and drop situation. So we're looking for today's high, which basically was 102.98 level. Okay, so what we want to do is just look for the left of the chart here, and there's your next level is 106. Okay, and then all we do is we go right to the next level up here. We're going to be coming right up there at that top of that candle at 115, and then we just march it right back up here till you have 118 level, and then we can just keep right on rolling until we hit 135. Now these blue lines, all they are is just price channels, and all you have to do is just bring those right across, and those are all your resistant levels and your upside targets. Okay, now here on the downside, you can see here where we just have like a kind of like an indecision candle going on so far. So what you really want to do is it really needs to hold at 97.71 on a closing basis. Okay, that's going to be very, very key. Now, if it doesn't, then we have all the support down here at that 94 level, which is basically your 8-day and your 20-day. We lose that, you come down here to your 90.77 level, and then we can come all the way down to the bottom, retest that 86 level. But you can see here on the chart here how many times that you hit that bottom. It was very, very nice, and it rallied up here. Then we have sideways consolidation, and now she's moving up here. So when you have this situation here, like we do with going on in Venezuela, you really don't know exactly, how this is all going to shake out. But if you're looking at developing oil there, and yeah, you can, but it's going to be over a long period of time, because again, they're only producing 900,000 barrels, but then you got to have the whole system and everything, to get this oil up, get it to the countries, get to this, and get going with that. Very, very, it's not an easy situation, as they say. So really what you're watching here is if it can get up to this 200-day on the weekly, okay, that's that 105 area. Once we can get above that, then we can just start layering in all the levels until we hit up to that 135.99. Now, again, if we crack that 135.99, then again, you're going to be heading right for that 150 area. Okay, let's look at the refiner Valero. Okay, so we have the Valero, which is a refiner. Now, remember, Venezuela has what they call heavy crude. It's almost like what they have in Canada. It's like it's very sludgy, okay? It's not, the United States has what they call light sweet crude, which is like for gasoline and products. But heavy crude is also very good because that's what you have like in diesel, and then what you need like for airlines and all that kind of stuff is what you actually need. Is that heavy crude kind of a situation. But it's a lot more difficult here to refine that than it is like a light sweet kind of a crude situation because it's very heavy sulfur. Okay, so you can see here how we just have a pop. We got a high today. What did we make a high today of? 184.98. We came in just a little bit light of that 185.62. That's going to be your big breakout level. Okay, so if you get that, crack above that 185.62 level, then we're going to be heading right for that 200 mark very, very easily. Now on the downside, we left this gap all the way down. So your support is going to be 172. Then we're going to have 167, and then we come have all the way down here 164, and then we have the top of that candle at 165.67, which is basically the gap fill. Okay, so this one isn't looking as good, but again, we have a nice good rally up here where you have a low, higher low, and a higher low situation, and on a weekly chart, you're holding that at 21-day, which is always very, very good. But you got to crack above that 185.62. See, this is why you trade the chart. Where to go? It went right into it. Okay, that's the thing. It went right into it, fell just a little bit short at 184.98. But that's going to be the very, very key that we have to crack above. If not, we have a lot of good support here, but I just never like these gaps and that fills because eventually they will fail. But we do have a good uptrending situation going on in the Valero. Okay, let's look at an oil services Schlumberger. All right, now here we have the oil services Schlumberger. This is working out here pretty nice, okay? So you can see where it rallied up here, and then where did it go? Look at that weekly chart, okay? It went right into that 44.78. Boom, and it stopped it dead right there. Okay, so that's what you got to look at. Okay, so once we get above all that, okay, then we can just, all we do is just bring these price channels right on up here very easily. Okay, 46.16 level, we come right across there. What do we got? We got a 50.94. We'll bring it right up top of that. You got a 55.69 level. Then we can venture all the way up here, top of that, 62.12, and then we have that big 62.78. That is going to be your target there if it keeps running. But the key is you have to get and close above that 200-day on the weekly chart, which is going to be very, very strong resistance at 44.78. So when you set your charts up, always use the daily and the weekly. This gives you a lot bigger picture. You can see how you're in the downtrend. Then we have the sideways consolidation. Now you can see we're trying to run up. Now the only way to change that downtrend is you got to start rallying up above that 200-day. Then we can start hitting all the uptrend on the stocks. I mean on the charts here. Okay. So what we look here like on a daily. Okay. So you can see we hit this 31.11, came right down here, and we hit 31.72 level. Okay, so right here is your double bottom situation. Okay, so you can see that how it came down, hit that 31.72, and then we retested that with 31.64, another double bottom, and then she's been moving up here ever since. So you can see the nice, good uptrending situation. Now, I never like these big gap situations, so you always want to watch today's low, 42.52. If not, we come down to 40.88, and then we have that gap fill at that 40.44 level. Okay, so that's going to be very, very strong support level if we can come all the way back down here. But I don't like that gap situation. So as we were rallying all on up here, we got as high as I say is that 44.94 level, and then I said all we do is just go to the tops of these candles here. These will be all your resistance levels until we can hit that 55.69. But the key level that you're really watching is that 200-day. If we can crack above this, okay, then we can aim. Your big target is going to be that 62.78. Obviously, you crack that, then we're heading right towards that 70 mark, and maybe even towards that 100 mark. Okay, let's take a look here now at Halliburton. All right, here we have Halliburton, pretty much the same kind of a situation, and we're sitting right here at that 200. Now, this is going to be very, very key. We have to close 31.86. You're sitting right on top of it right now, okay? So that's what we got to close above. If we can get above that level, then we just bring the price channel right across, and here's what we have is 34.97. We bring that price channel right across, 37.08, okay? Then we just bring this price channel right across here, okay? You got 38.89, and then we can venture all the way up here to your 41.56 level. Okay, then what we can do is we venture all the way up here. We have this 43.85 level, and then we have that 43.99 a situation is what you're going to be looking for. Okay, so right now here we have the same as the rest of those other charts. We have a nice, good uptrending situation. The key is I just don't like it where you just gap right on up, and then because a lot of times those gaps just get filled, just like it did like on the natural gas that I showed you on the charts earlier. So on the downside, watch that 31.19, okay? And then the gap fill right there at the top of that candle at 29.89, okay? Gap and fill. Now, you can see here how we just had a nice situation here, but now we have a good uptrending situation. See where the 50-day is, the 21-day, and the 8-day, moving up very, very nicely. So this looks like it just wants to go higher, okay? So again, your big target here going to be that 41.56, and that 43.99. But you got to get and close above that 200-day in order there to do that. Now, I'm going to show you here what I use for trade. It's XLE. It's the ETF. It has a basket of all of these plus, and it pays about 3.5% dividend, and it's XLE. All right, here we have XLE. Now, this is my favorite trade here when you look at the oil. Not for trading oil, but for like trading all the oil companies. This is my favorite here because it's a nice basket of everything. It has the Exxon, the Chevron, the Conoco, Valero, Halliburton, Slumber. Everything is in here, plus it pays a nice dividend. So if you have one or two that don't shake out, this is a nice, good basket of the whole 9 yards, okay? So what we're looking for here is a close above this 46.66 level, okay? If we can do that, then we're going to be looking right next level here. It's going to be 47.41, and we'll come in at the top of that candle at 48.96, and then we're going to be looking for that 49.49 level, okay? Now this ETF here just split. Okay, 2 for 1. This was up there in the 90s, and now she did a little split ski, so it's a lot easier. You can buy a lot more shares now, kind of a situation. So what you really want to watch then is just watch that 46.66. It needs to hold that. Now, there's no gap here. It just basically went and it just shot right on up. Okay, so today's high so far is 47.32 level. So just watch all these key levels up here. That 47.41. See, that was going to be your resistance right there, okay? And I see your next good, nice target is going to be right there at that 48.93 and then 49.49. You crack that, then we'd be heading right towards that 70 mark on this situation. Again, now this did a 2 for 1 split, okay, because this had a lot of juice in it, and this is what I always my favorite one here to trade. Okay, so again, watch that 46 level. That's going to be key. It needs to hold that, and then on a closing basis, that's going to be very key. Now you can see here on a weekly, see this 200 day, it's just rising right on up here, and it's holding everything very, very nicely intact. Now your price is above all your simple moving averages. The same thing on a daily, and that's always a very, very good sign. So if you want an easy trade, XLE is the ticket for you. Okay, that's what I got. I'll be back here after the open close, and we'll take a look here at Bitcoin, at gold, silver, crude oil, and natural gas, and we'll take a look at the indexes, which are all nice and green. All right, trade what's in front of you, not what you want.